Ugh.
Alright, is it on?
Yeah, it's on. I think, we'll just scoot up a little bit. Here, I'm going to scoot you up a little bit. Yeah, looks like it's picking up our voices just fine. So, I'm the masked movie man. And I'm joined by my... Oh, sorry.
What?
Introduce yourself, sorry.
Oh, I do not have a YouTube channel, so...
Well, you get to say, like, my name is...
I'm just the girlfriend, how about that? The masked movie...
Girl?
Mujer? Something like that? I'm trying to do, like, the all...
We speak English in this
I'm trying to
country.
do, like, the all M's thing, like you did.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea I just came up with.
I know. You're so smart.
Yee. I'm not as original as Charlie Kaufman.
Right, let's talk about that.
We just watched,
I'm thinking of ending things.
Really?
Yeah,
this
like,
is pretty sudden.
Yeah, like this... Wait, did you hear that? I'm sorry.
In the middle of the podcast. Too.
Right, yeah.
At the very beginning of the podcast.
Yeah. No, but for real, though, let's talk about that.
So, yeah, we watched I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I guess premiered yesterday, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But you had to go to dance, so we didn't watch it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, you should be sorry. We're late to the game now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused, girl.
You know...
Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things I have to say, but my first thing is just, like, wow. And it's funny because...
That's why,
yeah, in the movie, for those of you who have seen it or haven't seen it, she talks about how wow. What did she say about it again?
Well, like, she recited that 30-hour-long poem.
And, and he's all like, wow.
My beer lost its fizz by the time the poem was done.
Right.
Anyway, that's not what... Yeah, he says wow, and then she's like, what is that supposed to mean? Well, it can mean it's amazing, or it can mean, like, you can't even describe how
basically,
bad it
you're
was.
Lost for words, which can...
Yeah, it can be bad or good.
Yeah, it can go either way. I am definitely lost for words. I will say, my, like, initial is I really, really liked it.
Well, I'm not surprised because, this movie reminded me a lot of Synecdoche, New York.
Did it? You know, I thought...
I mean, it's very different in terms of, like, its execution in a lot of ways, but I meant more, like, in how sloppy and incoherent it is. I'm not a fan of Charlie Kaufman as a director, personally. I didn't even finish Anomalisa because I thought it was boring.
The Play-Doh people.
Synecdoche, New York, I thought was awful.
Wait, was that even claymation or was that puppets?
It was, I believe it was stop motion. Which I guess is...
Yeah, you don't like we always...
Yeah, I thought Synecdoche, New York was awful. I thought Anomalisa was, fine.
Synecdoche, I'm a huge, huge fan of.
I enjoy his scripts. I haven't watched Being John Malkovich yet. I loved Adaptation. I love that movie. He didn't direct that movie, though. He just wrote it, yeah.
I
love that. We're the exact opposite, so I think it's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I take it that you don't like this? You didn't like it?
Well, this movie kind of frustrated me because there's a lot about it I actually really did like, but the stuff I like was constantly interrupted. Well, here, I'll be a gentleman. What did you like about it?
Well, for one...
Well, that was nice to hear from you. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, where it was going, like, when we saw this trailer, first thing was like, this is like Get Out, but like make it Kaufman. I
said it was Get Out meets David Lynch.
Well, you say everything's David Lynch, but no. When I first saw this,
I didn't say Michael Bay is David Lynch.
Right. So when I saw this trailer, I didn't think that. I was like, this is Kaufman to the max, and I was here for it.
I just meant in terms of like how surreal it was. Like, do you remember the dinner scene? The part of the dinner scene was in the trailer, and it kind of made me think like whenever I think of an awkward, surreal dinner scene, I think of Eraserhead.
And it was extremely... Yeah, right. It was extremely surreal. It was.
And let me just make it very clear, and then I'll let you talk, I swear to God. Just one last thing. I don't mean that this feels like a David Lynch film or anything. I'm not saying it's a ripoff. I'm not saying anything like that. Kaufman, whether you love him or hate him, is unique. He has his own style, and I respect that about him. I don't think he's, like, untalented, and I did not think this was a ripoff of David Lynch. I just was bringing that up because it was like Get Out, because it looked like it was being introduced to parents.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And it looks surreal, which, when people think surreal, they think of Lynch. That's all I meant by that.
Right,
Anyway, please go on with what you were saying.
Well, yeah, and then Kaufman, he hasn't really spread his wings out that much as a director. I mean... He's done Synecdoche, Anomalisa. What else?
I think this is it. As far as directing, I'm sure we'll fact check each other at the end of this.
Yeah, I certainly think that he has his own style, and that's always why I always thought that he should direct more. I thought this was extremely original. I know he said that it kind of seemed like it was Get Out, but that was really only the whole same kind of premise it looked like, but
only superficially.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I just was meant
like
just like, you know, oh, I'm introducing him to my parents and they're freaks.
Yeah, especially with the whole.
And yeah, it is his third film. Yeah. So.
Especially the whole thing with the basement. It's like there's something in that basement. Which with this, I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of crazy shit. I will say something that I am genuinely wondering is like, did they ever make it back to the city, or was that story like even real? Like,
I don't know. Also, can I ask you a question? What was the movie they talked about in it?
That was A Woman Under the Influence, I believe it's called.
That's the one you said Tyler's a fan of?
Right. I think I've seen it on his Letterboxd. I'm pretty sure he really liked it a lot, or I just know that...
Wait, what's it called?
A Woman Under the Influence.
A Woman Under the Influence. So, this is just a word of advice for the 1 to 10 people that listen to this.
Yeah.
That, if you watch this movie, watch Woman Under the Influence first, because there's a 45-minute scene where they, like, talk about it in detail.
Well, it's not 45 minutes, but it is quite long.
Well, it's what it felt like.
Right.
That's more what I'm talking about.
Necessarily think
That's why I didn't think it was a 3-hour poem earlier either.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't necessarily think that you would have to watch it
to understand that scene. You would.
Yeah, it's just weird because why would it's kind of weird that they would do that. It's like, why would they talk about this movie? They just assume everybody knows what it is. I mean, you know, it's...
They did that with a few things. There was also, like, a book they talked about and some poems. They talked about a few things. I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't read this.
Yeah, there was a few times where it wasn't necessarily boring at all. Like, I was still listening, but I'm like, yeah, I really don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I think some of those scenes where they're just talking go on way too long. And this was a big problem I had with them.
Yeah, they do. Because it's I don't know, it's just weird. Maybe with their dialogue between the boyfriend, what was his name, Chris? Jake,
yeah.
Jake and
I'm terrible with names.
Lucia.
Yeah, he calls her something in the script.
Yeah, a lot of crazy shit. But the dialogue between them was interesting because I noticed in some scenes that stuff they talked about that seemed kind of subtle and insignificant later got brought up into something bigger. I don't know if you caught some of that.
Are you kind of referring to, like, this is just the first example that comes to my head. By the way, I guess we'll do some spoilers in this, so...
Yeah, well, we'll do
I don't think we've spoiled anything so far, other than that they talk about, wait, what's the movie called again? Woman Walks Ahead? Wait, what's it called?
Woman Under the Influence.
Woman Walks Ahead is a movie with Jessica Chastain, I think. Sorry, that's just not even important. But
right, alright, what were you saying?
Okay, anyway, we might spoil stuff for the 10 people that might listen to this. So just
disclosure.
Just maybe watch the movie first. I don't know, what was I saying? We were talking about... Oh, I said the example I came up with was, let me get this more in the center. There we go. So, the first example I came up with, because we said came back later, was maybe the hilarious scene where he's like, they're in the diner, and the guy's watching the movie. Mm-hmm. Which I believe I interpreted that as being Jesse Plemons when he was older.
Yeah.
Which I think you're supposed to think.
Yeah. It looked like that.
Which is weird, though, because in the very last scene in the movie, he actually looked like old Jesse Plemons, whereas the old character didn't look like him, so that was kind of confusing, but that's not the point I'm going to make. They brought that up later on when they're like, oh, how'd we meet? Oh, you talked to me about the Santa Fe burger.
Yeah, right,
Sure what example were you thinking of? I'm sure I know there's other ones.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything right now. I just kind of remember that. I don't know. It was interesting. It's really
dense.
I definitely do think that a lot of their conversation seemed pretty natural, which is what I kind of like just in any film. And
in a movie that's so strange, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird to have anything natural. So.
Right, exactly. So I appreciate that.
Well, it kind of went from natural to unnatural.
Exactly, yeah.
Was like a
and that's kind of what I wanted to talk. Let's talk about kind of from the very beginning. So it started out as seemed like normal. I wouldn't say normal. You knew like something was like going on. It was tense at the very beginning.
Straightforward.
Yeah, right. I was a little confused about the main character, just because at the very beginning she's all like, "Oh, I'm going to Jake's house, and I've never felt this close with the person, but I'm probably gonna break up with him," and like it just seemed kind of weird. And yeah, I'm trying to just like figure her out, and you know, Then she wrote that dreadful... Well, it wasn't dreadful. It was good.
It was well written, but it just went on forever.
Well, yeah, it went on forever, and it was also extremely depressing.
I'm sure some people will be like, oh, you're just not intelligent enough. You don't appreciate poetry or something like that.
Yeah, it was just really,
It was definitely depressing.
Yeah, and
it kind of lost its effect after a while, though. Cause I'm like,
it did, yeah, I know. I was like, all right, let's wrap it up, hon.
You know what almost reminds me of? There's this... Oh, fuck. I saw this movie not that long ago, and I don't remember anything about it. It's a weird thing. Other than that, like... It was just so depressing from start to finish that, like, eventually I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, now it's another horrifying, depressing scene. Okay.
It kind of made me think about, like, her person, and just, like, I don't know, somebody's gotta be pretty cynical to write that poem, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah. I guess the thing that irritated me is I think, like, it's like, okay, I got the point, like, 35 minutes
right, yeah,
into the
exactly.
poem, but then it just goes on
yeah,
I'm like, I actually thought for a second I was like...
There was a lot of, what do you call, kind of like foreshadowing when the drive up to the farmhouse. She was like, oh, what's that abandoned swing set doing there? And then there was like those billboards that didn't make a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, was there ever any payoff for that?
No, that's what I wanted to bring up. I'm like, so I guess it wasn't really foreshadowing? I don't know. I really don't know, but yeah, that never got brought up again. I definitely do think this is a movie you have to see more than once, but it is going to have to sink in a little bit and absorb, because, boy, that was a lot.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, when she got to the house, that's when things like started getting kind of creepy, but not yet very surreal, I'd say, just kind of creepy. And the thing is...
I mean, I don't know, it got pretty surreal pretty fast when you say... Are you just referring to the scene in the barn?
Right, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then once they sat down and started eating, that's when it started to get pretty weird, Lynchy, if you will.
Yeah, so I was trying to find the movie that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Like, I said that. Like the dinner table scene.
Yeah.
But also, remember when he's like, they're coming down now, and then she goes to see if they're coming down, they're not, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there was a lot of, like, weird stuff like that. Yeah, the barn was interesting. Okay, and I wanted to kind of get to
this... I like that scene, too.
I wanted to get to this later, but now that we're kind of on the topic, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the pig?
I thought you were going to say the Elephant Man.
No.
I'd like to talk about the Elephant Man.
No, that's not. That's for another
Since
video.
we were talking about David Lynch.
I know, I was talking about the pig. Can we talk about the pig?
Well, are you just talking about the pig at the very end?
Yeah, that pixelated pig that was, like, talking to the janitor or whoever it was while he was, like, walking naked. I don't know, maybe we'll get to that later, but that was the same pig that they were that died in the farm.
Yeah, didn't he even say it was?
Yeah, he said,
the pig could talk at the end, so...
Yeah,
it was like, I didn't make it, but it's okay, because why not me? Could have been another pig. I don't know. I think, okay, I'm just going to come out and say I don't like Charlie Kaufman, and it makes me sad to say that, because unlike people like M. Night Shyamalan, because I'm going to be honest, that was just a notification on my computer, doesn't matter. Unlike M. Night Shyamalan, the thing is, M. Night Shyamalan Charlie Kaufman reminds me a lot of M. Night Shyamalan, and that is like the worst insult.
Yeah,
but let me get this very clear, though. I think Charlie Kaufman is a much, much more talented M. Night Shyamalan. Okay, so...
No.
Okay, I don't like Charlie Kaufman. I think he... You know what's really funny is I always say, like, pretentious is an overused word, because I think, like, people just use pretentious to describe any art house film.
Right.
Like, you could look at any film by Lynch or Jodorowsky. You know, you could look at either of Panos Cosmatos' films as pretentious.
Right.
You could call any art film pretentious, and people do. But and as much as I always say, like, oh, people shouldn't overuse that word, I do think it is appropriate to use that word for Charlie Kaufman.
What about this film in particular?
This film is a prime example of pretentiousness. And he just thinks he is the most intelligent man when really his films are just sloppy, and incoherent.
So and that's what you thought all about this?
Well, whenever they were just, like, changing... so the long-winded conversations drove me nuts. So, okay, here, let me get out my little piece, and then I'll ask you what you think. So here's the thing. I actually love all the scenes, because I'm a sensory guy. You know this about me.
Right, and it was beautiful.
I mean, I love a good story, but sometimes it depends... So, depending on the type of film I watch, there are films that are story-driven films that I love.
Right.
And they're not, like, artsy-fartsy or anything. They're just story-driven films, and I love them. But when it comes to the more strange films, I'm a sensory guy. Like Inland Empire and Eraserhead by David Lynch, and David Lynch is my favorite director.
Go a day without mentioning David Lynch. Just go a day. Go an hour.
How can I do that when day is in the name?
Okay,
David?
You were saying.
Yeah. So I'm a sensory guy, and I like his films because, here, I'll just use someone else. I'll use Jodorowsky as an example. So, when I watch something by him, it's not necessarily important to me, like, what's going on in a literal sense. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to use Lynch as an example. Because Inland Empire is a perfect example of this. It's pretty much incoherent like this movie, but it works for me because it doesn't have long-winded conversations that are trying to make a point. Inland Empire is just this crazy, visceral, dreamlike experience with crazy, weird scenes. And it's not trying to make some profound point. It's just this really visceral experience. And I like all that in this film when it was trying to be like that. Because when I actually think Kaufman, and this is why I think he's talented, is I actually think that like when he did those scenes that are surreal and are creepy and are visual and visceral, I thought they were excellent. Like when she goes down into the basement and it's her pictures down there, and when she goes up to his room, and there's a bunch of scenes like that I actually dug the hell out of. Or when they were eating the cake and then she turned around, they're not there anymore. Yeah. All that shit I loved, and it showed to me that he really knows how to do that. And in his own unique way. It didn't remind me of any other surreal director. It didn't remind me of anybody. I think he has his own unique voice. And all the scenes like that I loved. I loved all those scenes. I thought they were creepy and interesting and visceral and awesome. But then when it came to the long-winded conversations where they just are in a car and it's just kind of shot, reverse shot, and they're just talking about a bunch of stuff that I don't find interesting. And I know it's probably super profound to a lot of people. I mean, I get the general theme, which is that it's about, like, life, a reflection of life and things like that. But then again, they change topic. They go all over the place. It's like, what fucking point are you trying to make?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying about how their conversations were very natural. I will say that it was kind of weird, the transitions, how, you know, like we were saying, it seemed pretty straightforward to begin with, and it got hella surreal. And then, I feel like when they got back in the car, everything was, like, back to normal again. And then it got, like, they stopped at the school and then for the ice cream, and then it's like, alright, well, what is this? And then that kind of went on until the end of the movie. So, it was just kind of weird, the patterns. I would say. Yeah, and what you were saying, the visuals and everything they used, I loved.
Me too. I like the aspect ratio a lot.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I should have mentioned that earlier on. I love the visuals.
The story, I'm still confused. And I don't
story?
Right, yeah. I don't really know.
What story?
I don't really know what I like, but I like it.
And you know what? That's perfectly valid. And so if we talk about David Lynch, Inland Empire, when I watch Inland Empire, for example, which is one of my favorite films, it's like when I finished watching that movie, I'm like, I don't even know why I like that movie. I just did. It's just like, because it's not like I can point to a character or a story or anything like that. And even, it's filmed like shit too, by the way. Inland Empire, he filmed it on a potato.
Right, yeah.
And so it's not even like crispy cinematography. Yeah. I just watched this low quality film, like low quality, but low budget, low camera work movie that makes no fucking sense. That's 3 hours long. And I'm like, why the fuck do I love it? I don't know. I just kind of do.
I just thought this movie was genuinely pretty spooky. And I will say, and this says a lot, but this made me feel a little thankful that I live in Arizona, because that blizzard and just the situation was terrifying, I will say. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense right now.
In Idaho, we had a lot of those.
Right, yeah. It doesn't really make a lot of sense right now.
And it never will.
I liked the way it made me feel. I genuinely did. Spooked.
YMS is going to make another probably like 30-hour explanation of why this film's genius, just like he did with Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah,
but the thing is, okay, here's the thing I can't stand. This is what I don't like about Kaufman, and I know this is maybe makes me, I don't know, people are like, oh, well, you're not intelligent enough, but any film that you have to, like, go back, do research, and dissect 100 million times for it to make some semblance of sense, I don't know, I think it's like, that might be better off to write, like, a book or something, or an autobiography. It just seems weird.
I agree. It's funny you say that, because you know what I feel kind of the same way. I feel what you just said. I feel that with when I first saw fucking, what is it, Jodorowsky, Holy Mountain.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's fair enough. I get it. And Jodorowsky, I showed her Holy Mountain. He's one of my faves. He's like my other fave, right? Like, because they're my two favorite surreal directors. He's more, also, like, kind of has more of, like, absurdism.
This was way more straightforward, though, than those films.
In a way, yes. No, I disagree.
You think that
Holy Mountain, I actually almost always understood what point he was trying to make. And even if he didn't, it didn't... Okay, let me explain that, like, if you're talking about the strange, weird scenes, I agree that I think they're about on par. Because, like, for example, why is her pictures in the fucking basement?
Okay, Brad, but it's creepy.
But I love that. That's what I'm saying. I love that shit. My complaints come with the long-winded philosophical conversations that I just thought were pseudo-intellectual, personally.
And I kind of thought that way about Holy Mountain.
But Holy Mountain doesn't have conversations like that. It's more
No,
visual.
they don't, but I feel like the message they send, or just, like, I don't know.
But it's also absurdism. It's kind of making fun of things.
And it is.
It's more of a satirical. This is trying to be powerful. So this is trying to be powerful. Like, life is this profound reflection of how we're all aging like the wind, or something like that.
Yeah,
you're right. Boring.
But I just thought
Holy Mountain is satirical. Wait, let me just get this one point out. Take me 2 seconds. Holy Mountain is satirical. Like, it's making fun of the human species. Like remember the scene where he's making prosthetics for people? And he's like, we all know people want to be judged by what they look like, not for what's underneath, or something like that. It's satirical. It's not trying to be unbelievably powerful and deep and profound, which is what Kaufman is always trying to do, and I think he just comes off like a pretentious, pseudo-intellectual hack.
I mean, think what you want. I personally just really enjoyed this movie. You know what I also really enjoyed?
How dare you.
I really loved the dance scene.
Oh, I love that too. I actually love the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved everything from, like, the point where she got out of the car.
Yeah.
Because, once again, I didn't really understand it from a literal point of view, but I was really enjoying how it was making me feel.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I really liked about this movie. And I feel like it maybe could make sense, but at the same time, I feel like it maybe... I don't know. I feel like I could enjoy it more if things, like, do add up, which I think they might.
There was a period of time in this movie where I was thinking, when I rated it on Letterboxd, I'd give it a 5 out of 5, by the way. I'm not kidding. Or 4.5, maybe 4 to a 5 out of 5, based somewhere around there. Because I was loving it so much. If I edited this film, or someone else edited this film, they took out all the long-winded conversations about philosophical bullshit and whatever that movie's called, Woman Sleeps or something. Or, wait, what's it called again?
What? Just move on.
Woman Sleeps Ahead?
Move
on. If they cut out all of that, and it was just this kind of creepy, surreal, kind of strange horror film that was just kind of like, you're not necessarily meant to understand it, but to experience it, haha. That was a reference to Tenet, which I just saw. I just posted a review on. So then I would have loved it.
Yeah, and I agree, too. Definitely their conversations in the car weren't my favorite. However, I will say I did kind of enjoy that I got a sense of their relationship and just that they had, like, some sort of chemistry amongst themselves. I don't know. Can we, like, be real? I mean, this is, like, beside all of what we just said, but, like, who goes out, like, I don't know, how far did that seem? Like, pretty far. I mean, they had to, like, do a road trip. So who, like, goes that far to meet the parents of, like, somebody you've been dating for, how long did they say? Like, 6 weeks?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know, why are you trying to bring logic to a movie that is completely absurd?
Right, I know, but
there's
like,
no logic in the movie at all. And I don't even mean that in a bad way. Maybe it's a bad and a good way. It depends on the scene, I guess.
I mean, I guess the same thing is, why would you fucking get ice cream when it's a fucking blizzard out?
Well, and also, why did the dad age 35 years and the mom
but, like,
de-age?
Like, little... I mean, obviously that's absurd, but with this,
like, why are you trying to bring logic to a movie that's trying to be absurd?
I guess, but it's just like...
Trying too hard, in my opinion.
I don't know. I liked it. I really enjoyed it, and...
I liked it more than Synecdoche, New York. I didn't like anything about that movie, whereas at least this movie had those surreal, interesting elements, whereas everything in Synecdoche was just so boring.
To me, this just didn't seem anything like Synecdoche.
Well, I just meant in terms of the fact that Synecdoche, in my opinion, with both of these movies, he just, like, when he's writing the script, I imagine he's just writing down every single thing that's coming to his mind, like, oh, and what if I add this? And what if I add this? And what if I add this? With no coercion, no cohesion, or whatever the word is. I know. It's amazing vocabulary. Like, he's just like, oh, I want to throw this in there, and this in there, and he just does that 100 million times. And then the script turns into this sloppy mess where it's like, okay, you're like, nothing in fucking Synecdoche makes any sense. I'm sorry. I know you could dissect it and try to find connections or whatever, but, like, there's a scene where he's like, "Oh, you have a homosexual lover," and I'm like, "Fucking what?"
All right, well, yeah, that's for another conversation.
The reason why the reason I'm bringing it up though is that this movie reminded me of that because they brought up so many things where I'm like, okay, I guess that's okay. I don't know. It felt similar in how sloppy it was.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I guess I'm in the minority. It got a better score than I thought it was.
Yeah.
So, sorry about that little pause. Did you have any other thoughts on the film?
You know, I'm going to sleep on it. Absorb it, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to give it a second watch. I mean, probably not with you, but...
Maybe with Tyler.
Somehow. Yeah, I'm curious. It's too bad he couldn't join us tonight, because I'm really curious what he would have to say.
Our friend Tyler loves Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah,
he loves Charlie Kaufman. Hi, Tyler.
Make sure you link his channel down below.
Okay, yeah. Our friend Tyler has his own channel with short films and such, and he's pretty good. I guarantee you he would love this film.
You think so?
I think so, but I know what kind of films he likes. You know what's interesting, by the way? One other thing I wanted to say is that one thing that's a little contradiction is that I love Andrei Tarkovsky. And I don't think you've seen anything from him.
I don't think I have.
He's a Russian filmmaker.
No, I know who he is. I just haven't seen anything of him.
Okay, well, do you know he's, like, pretty legendary?
Of course, yeah. That's why I know who he is.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe you just knew who he was because I mentioned it in passing. His films also have characters going on very long-winded conversations about philosophy and things like that really don't have anything to do with the story. And it's interesting because I love those films, but I don't love this. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the philosophy in Tarkovsky's films are really interesting and deep. Like Stalker, for example, has a lot. And we don't need to go into it, but like the monologues in that movie, like the things that they talk about actually are compelling. And it just felt like pseudo-intellectual. Like, oh, Charlie Kaufman it's a reflection on life. I think that's what the Rotten Tomatoes consensus said. I'm like, to me, it just kind of came off like slop.
Yeah. All right. So basically, you didn't like it. I liked it. I thought it was pretty spooky. It's definitely a good kickoff for.
I was actually going to ask you though. I imagine you were disappointed. I think you thought it was going to be a horror film.
Well,
it certainly was not that.
The thing with that is, I actually like actual dictionary definition, like horror films. I typically don't like, and they typically don't scare me. I think they're fun, like cute, like retro. Well, I really should say cute, but retro, like slasher horror films. Like I think they're fun, but they're not the kind that scare me. This one was pretty like it got to your head. So yeah, I still think it's a good one to kick off the Halloween season with for sure.
Oh wait, I have a question. Did she like change faces?
No.
At one point in the car, like she.
Oh yeah, no, she did. That's what we were all. She changed faces to the ice cream lady. That was her.
Wasn't that before the ice cream scene, or was it after?
After.
What the fuck was that about?
I don't know.
Okay, fine.
All right,
we'll wrap it up. But do you have any initial score? I know you can probably change it later when you think about it. But do you have like?
Like I said, I'm gonna sleep on it. But right now, it's a good 4.5.
Wow, you have terrible taste.
I know. All right. Well, anyway,
I did give my final score.
All right, give your final score.
This is my channel.
I think people are already gonna know.
Well, and also, I think I'm actually gonna make this into like an official review.
Okay.
Like in addition to this discussion, which is more concise. So maybe my review will change. Okay. But my initial is, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think I gave Synecdoche, New York, a 1.5 out of 5. So I think I'd give this like a. So it's better than Synecdoche, New York. I'd give this a 2.5. I think, maybe a 2. A very strong 2. Very strong 2. I can maybe push it up to a 2.5.
Oh.
I don't know.
Alright, well there you go. Well it's available on Netflix, so go check it out for sure.
One of the better Netflix originals, even though I didn't like it, funny enough. I mean, all of them are just terrible.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. I'm like, this is a pretty original Netflix kind of original.
They do that a lot, though, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give Netflix this, is they actually don't do the most schlocky films I've ever seen. They're just typically, or the most cliched films. They actually do movies that kind of push stuff. Like The Irish Guy.
Right, yeah. Also, for another video. Alright, well, we're almost at like 30 minutes, so...
Alright, guys, subscribe to my channel, or don't. It's all good.
Like down
below.
I'm not taking it. Yeah, let us know whose side
Let me know if you want to hear from Sofia again. Maybe not. I don't know if you even want
Maybe your other girlfriend, I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. Alright, guys, I'll catch you guys later. I think that went well.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Wait, it's still going.
Oh.